Hello race fans and welcome to Interlagos for the 2023 Brazilian Grand Prix or Sao Paulo Grand Prix, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day we're going to get some thrilling laps around this iconic venue from the best drivers in the world. Let's see what we have to offer. Here's your practice report for the 2023 Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Keita Watanabe outside the top 10. Weird considering that he's always finished on the podium and every time he's raced at this venue. He makes the top 10 in practice 2. Matsushita down in 13th. However, in practice 3, Watanabe takes 13th. Matsushita not being able to outpace his teammate in any of the practice sessions. Toyota, the setup that they're running, it's not very high downforce. However, durability upgrades coming for Toyota's engine. And big news that the powertrain and durability side of the regulations will have an update, and rain is anticipated for the weekend. Around the final corner we go, heading towards the start-finish straight. Watanabe is powering towards the line and crosses it, and is 4th overall. He's up a second on his previous time, and Watanabe is absolutely flying up to P6. He's not improving on his 3rd lap he got on new soft tires. But Watanabe makes it easily into the top 10 and out of Q1. And Matsushita nearing the drop zone, so he could be out again in qualifying 2. George Russell. Here we go. Barreling towards the line. Watanabe on a used set of soft tires. 2nd overall. It's a little overcast as he barrels sort of like Leclerc's down. He's going to try and go on the inside into the Interlagos. Oh, he spins him around! And that's Watanabe's lap ruined! Watanabe makes it into Q3 though. Giovinazzi out, Sainz out in the Ferrari. A huge upset in the order, but that's some big contact with Leclerc. Towards the start-finish straight we go. Watanabe, DRS wide open, barreling towards the line. 4th overall. He's not improving on his next time, so surely he's going to have to go out again for another lap if he wants to get anywhere near pole position. Can Watanabe make it back-to-back poles? It doesn't look like it. He's not found the magic from his first lap. And Watanabe down in 8th place. The Mercedes separated by 0.006 of a second. That is an insane gap between the two. Not even a gap anyway, but Watanabe's got his work cut out on a wet Interlagos on Sunday. Welcome, race fans. It may be pouring in Brazil, but you cannot douse the spirit of the Brazilian fans who have come out in droves to witness another Brazilian Grand Prix, and undoubtedly will be made that much better with some little additions from Mother Nature, with rain over the circuit. Here we are at Interlagos, a very short lap, but many iconic corners that will set up possibly some great overtakes, perhaps into turn 1, down to Senna S, into turn 4 at the Decina del Lago, or who can't forget where Lewis Hamilton won his championship in 2008 on the final corner of the final lap. Maybe we'll see something like that today. Here we go to your starting grid for the Brazilian Grand Prix, and Keita Watanabe is, well, he's always had a lot of success around this track, and I mean, he got his first pole position of the season in the wet around Coda. Can he find some of that magic in the race today? We'll have to wait and see. And Valtteri Bottas leading the championship over Lewis Hamilton by a huge gap. If he gets anywhere in the top 3 today, he will close out the championship and take a 3rd straight Drivers' Championship result. And here we are. Here's your starting grid for the Brazilian Grand Prix of 2023. And it's Valtteri Bottas on pole position ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton by 0.006 of a second. What are the Mercedes drivers going to deliver today? Perez 3rd, Norris 4th, Leclerc 5th, and Keita Watanabe gets promoted to 6th place, with Fernando Alonso 7th and Max Verstappen 8th on an engine penalty. Matsushita up the grid with George Russell in 10th, Stroll 11th, Sato 12th, Gasly 13th on the grid penalty, Nikita Mazepin up to 14th. Then we have Giovinazzi 15th and Zhou Guanyu in 16th place. Giovinazzi on an engine penalty. Carlos Sainz and Esteban Ocon also on grid penalties, with Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo down the order, with Nicholas Latifi and Yuki Tsunoda filling out the back of our grid. Tons of engine penalties, but a lot of fresh engines on this grid. Let's see what they can do around Interlagos. 5 red lights. The rain has lessened a little bit, but that track surface is still wet. It's going to be a tentative start on the intermediates. It's lights out, and off they go, and it's a great start from Valtteri Bottas, who cuts off his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Keita Watanabe gets a decent start alongside Fernando Alonso. Down the inside of 1, 2, 3 cars. Oh, he makes contact with Lewis Hamilton, and look at that wheel control he got. He managed to counter steer and counteract the impact of the slide, but that's an incredible start. Let's look at the race start again from Keita Watanabe. Just a decent start off the line, not exceptional by any means, but it's this dive bomb. I don't know if he really thought of actually making that dive bomb because of the contact with Hamilton. I think he just, well, they haven't run in wet conditions all weekend, so this is him scouting out the braking points on a track that, well, he hasn't been in these conditions. And you can see from this driver cam, look at that control. He's edging this, he's forcing the steering wheel right in order to counteract the slide, and he just manages to avoid spinning out and turn 1 on that elevated curb. Let's look at the front wing, see if there's any damage on this end. A little nick from the right front end plate, but nothing too serious. And that's Sergio Perez going, oh, and he's slowing down, he's pulling off to the side. And is that an engine failure? It is for Sergio Perez. Unfortunate for the Red Bull. Let's look at the replay. You can see him going through turn 8 right now, and there we go. There's the, that's not water spray from the tires. That's definite smoke from the back of that Red Bull, and Sergio Perez is not going to be very pleased with that. And considering, well, how good his season was looking up to this point, he's just not.
I love engine.
And you can hear the disappointment from Sergio Perez. Closing up to Lewis Hamilton now. What can Watanabe do? He's closing, he's getting ever closer to the Mercedes driver. No DRS with the rain, but here he goes up the hill. He sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix down the inside into the Senna S, and that is a brilliant move. Lewis Hamilton pulls a switcheroo, but the outside turns into the inside for Watanabe, and he holds the position against the 7-time world champion, and that was an exceptional and brave move. Let's look at the replay. Look how far back he comes. Down the inside. He's got confidence. We were mentioning earlier on the race start how he didn't even know his braking points in the wet heading into this weekend. And you would have thought he'd done this thousands of times in preparation on the simulator. And Hamilton trying to go around the outside. No response to that expert dive bomb. And that's Nicholas Latifi out of the Grand Prix as well with Sergio Perez. Round he goes towards the Interlagos, down the Reto Aposta, and I think there's smoke again from the back of that Williams. Not the same engine, so no real correlation we can muster from this, but with Nicholas Latifi, yeah, that's very unfortunate for the Williams driver, hoping for perhaps a better result than he's been putting up all season. And here he goes, closing in on Zhou Guanyu, and yeah, just no hope for the Williams driver.
The car just died.
Copy.
It switched off the power completely.
Closing on Valtteri Bottas. He's been closing in all race long, and Bottas is being impeded by Zhou Guanyu, the back marker. Haas is not getting out of the way, and that's going to play beautifully into Watanabe's hand on a Reto Aposta. Zhou goes to the left, but Bottas has got little defense. Watanabe cuts across Zhou, down the inside into the Interlagos. It's so tight between the two, and Watanabe pulls off another dive bomb on a car that is leagues ahead of him, up into first place. Let's look at the replay again. Here he goes, barreling down with the slipstream from Bottas. Down the inside again. So far back from considering the dive bomb. And that is an exceptional move on two Mercedes drivers. Toyota has fallen down the performance order. And yet, Watanabe's driving with so much confidence. Here we go, heading towards the start-finish line. Watanabe's been absolutely flying. He says the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as Hamilton pits behind him. And Bottas might be following suit in the coming laps. And here goes Watanabe into the pit lane. Bottas pit the lap before, and there's about a 22-second gap between the two, so Watanabe still had pace on these tires, but Toyota responding to the threat of Mercedes boxing early. They're going to see if they can get the overcut done, and I think they just might. Look at the gap, and that's going to help to a beautiful stop from the Toyota boys and girls at 2.2 seconds in the pit box. And here he goes down the pit exit. A little sway from the rear end of that Toyota. But Watanabe's not going to have to worry because he's got leagues and bounds between him and Bottas. And there he goes back out onto the Reto Aposta. Here he goes, Watanabe, 3 seconds ahead of the people behind, but Bottas snags the fastest lap. Those inters are rubbered into the circuit faster for the Mercedes driver, but Watanabe is going to have to react quickly. 2 purple sectors, that's the way to counteract the fastest lap attempt from Bottas, and he crosses the line, and Watanabe retakes the fastest lap with 2 purple sectors and a green sector overall. Barreling towards the line, and Bottas and the Mercedes just have no answer to Watanabe's pace. What is it about the wet in 2023 that allows Watanabe to excel in the conditions? Closing towards the line, crosses it. Another fastest lap. This is an exceptional showing from Watanabe, showing his true potential. And here he goes, and that's a sight you don't want to see. Matsushita up the grid in 9th. So he's still in the points, but he's about to get lapped by his teammate, who, well, that's not going to look good for his chances for a seat next year. As, well, I mean, nothing is worse than being lapped by your teammate, but when your teammate's this far out front. Watanabe's showing he's a bit of a rain master. He won in the wet in Imola. He put it on pole in the wet in Kota. And now as he barrels down the start-finish straight, he's going to weave because he knows he's just put in a dominant performance at Interlagos. Watanabe makes it another win at the Brazilian Grand Prix and keeps his podium record around this circuit alive as he takes P1, dominating the weekend after 2 dive bombs. And in the wet, they say that a driver's true potential is truly shown, and Watanabe's shown himself to be perhaps a champion in the making. But one man who is going to be a champion is Valtteri Bottas, taking P2, puts him mathematically ahead of Lewis Hamilton, and he won his 3rd driver's championship in a row. That is exceptional work from Valtteri Bottas. He has proven himself to be amongst many of the legends. He's up there with Ayrton Senna and other drivers who have scored 3 championships on the bounce, and he's in that prestigious club. Lewis Hamilton makes it a Mercedes 2-3, and Nobuharu Matsushita gets his best result of his career, P9, and 2 more points, preserving his point scoring form over the last 3 races. Daniel Ricciardo from the back of the grid makes up a decent recovery drive, but not enough to make it back into the points, with Nicholas Latifi and Sergio Perez your only retirees. And there you go. Lewis Hamilton pips Max Verstappen in the Drivers' Championship, and Matsushita makes his way up into 14th. However, Valtteri Bottas' 60-point lead is definitely going to be unbeatable heading into the last 2 races of the season. And Mercedes still ahead of Red Bull, very far ahead. However, Red Bull not mathematically out of this. But if Mercedes score well as they did this weekend, they undoubtedly will take that 10th Constructors' Championship in a row. And here we go. Watanabe lifts the winner's trophy. He's going to add another Brazilian Grand Prix win and a 2nd win of the season to his repertoire as he sprays the champagne along with his fellow drivers, and we head to the land down under for the penultimate round of 2023, and hopefully you'll join us then. But that's it from us, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.